Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hello. We have a great audience today. I'm excited to introduce Mark, who is an educator at heart and a pricing enthusiast by education and experience. As a pricing professional, he realized the key problem is companies don't understand value, what it is, and how much they deliver to their customers. For more than 25 years, Mark has led, coached, and taught businesses through the lens of pricing, a radically different approach from other business experts. He knows that every person inside your company affects the price a buyer is willing to pay. The prices you achieve ultimately indicate how well the entirety of your company operates. He is the author of 3 books, and today he is helping us think through pricing a new product. Let's all welcome Mark Stiving.
Excellent introduction.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to talk about how to price a new product. But I remember being, 12 years old or something like that, and going to the grocery store with my mom. And I would see prices that ended in 9, 69, 99. And I always wondered, why do companies do that? But do they think we're stupid? We know 99 is $1. What's the big deal? About 20 years later, I found myself at Berkeley getting a PhD in marketing, and I had a chance to play with scanner data. Now, this is the data the grocery stores collect when you use your loyalty cards. And we know so much about the purchases that you make. We know how much you paid, and we know what you didn't buy. We know what the price was of the products you didn't buy, whether there was an end-out display, whether there was an ad in the newspaper. We even know how many cats you have. But we didn't know your name. Okay, got it. But we were able to statistically figure out, does this 9-cent thing work or not? Turns out it does. And it works because we're lazy subtractors. but that isn't that powerful of a topic, but that happened to be my dissertation. Now, I just fell in love with understanding how people use price to make decisions. It's such a fascinating topic. And in reality, there's 2 basic ways, 2 big topics that we use when we think of pricing. One is I'll call value, and that's what we're going to talk about today, the rational side of pricing, or the rational side of decision-making. The other side is behavioral economics. You may have heard of that. This is really the irrational side. This is where 99 cents fits in. How do we trick people into making decisions they might not otherwise make? We're going to talk about value. And we're going to take this concept of value and apply it to this question. How are we going to price a new product? Before we can get into the new product, though, we have to understand, what does value actually mean to our customers? Because customers trade money for value. The only reason anyone's ever going to give you $1 is because they think they get more than $1 in value for what it is that they're giving. Think about the last time you bought anything. I don't care what it is. And however much you paid for it, you thought it was worth it. You thought you got more value than the price. And that's exactly what we have to be thinking as we start thinking about pricing. How is it that our customers are valuing our products? And so big company, small company, don't care. The single most profitable pricing decision any company can make is this: adopt value-based pricing. Value-based pricing simply means let's charge what a customer is willing to pay. A lot of companies, especially if you build physical products, hardware products, any type of physical good, a lot of these companies use what's called cost-plus pricing. And we do cost-plus pricing because it's easy, because we know we're not losing money, and we don't have to try to figure out how much the customers value our products. But here's the question. Let's pretend that you make something that costs you $10 to make. You want 50 points of margin, so you sell it for $20. What happens if someone would pay you 50? Shouldn't you get that?
Yep.
What if someone would only pay you 19? You still want that business? Value-based pricing is about understanding what our market's willing to pay and seeing if we can get closer and closer to capturing that. Now, truthfully, this is impossible to do perfectly, right? I can't read your mind. There's no way I know how much you're willing to pay for something. But I can get closer and closer. And I can treat this as an attitude or as a goal, which is really what we want to do. Whenever we think of value-based pricing, oh, by the way, I didn't say this, you guys can ask questions as we go through. You can ask the hardest, most impossible, weird questions, I don't care. But here's what we will do, is if it's about the topic I'm talking about, I'll answer it on the spot. And if not, we'll wait till I get done with this part. And then I'll answer any question on pricing you want. I hope. I'll try to answer any question on pricing you guys can come up with. So when we think about value-based pricing, what we're really saying is, can we put ourselves in the shoes of our buyers? Can we think about how our buyer is making this decision? What is it that this buyer values? And so our very first impactful insight, your company exists to create value for customers. 99% of what your company does is to create value for your marketplace. Pricing is the one thing we do to capture that value. So now what's value? This is the hard part. What is value? Value is this really big, ambiguous word. I'm going to give you two definitions or two types of value that we're going to talk about here. First one is inherent value. Inherent value is what's the value of having your product? What's the value of solving the problem that your product solves? Out of curiosity, how much do you value having air to breathe? A lot?
Yeah.
Like tons? So way up here? Okay, got it. Way up here, got it. This is what we call inherent value. What's the value of having air to breathe? Everything I got. Somebody, I have no idea who, is trying to sell air from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and you can buy it for only $199, buy it now bid. Anybody getting on eBay to buy this right away? No. But wait. You just told me that air was worth everything.
It's also free.
It's also free. And so this is what we call relative value. How much is it worth relative to the alternatives? You don't pay for air because you have free air all around you. So air is worth either everything you own or absolutely nothing, depending on if we're talking about inherent value or relative value. Now, it turns out this is a really, really important concept. Value is going to represent what we think of as willingness to pay. How much are you willing to pay for air? Nothing. We get it. And that's because our buyers typically make two different decisions. The first decision they make is, will I buy something in this product category? Imagine for a moment that tomorrow morning you wake up and your significant other says to you, honey, I would really like it if you could serenade me a love song playing a guitar. And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, now I got to go take guitar lessons. But of course you're going to say yes. Right? And so you say yes to the will I decision. I got to go get a guitar. You go to the guitar store and here's a whole bunch of guitars to choose from. Now you have to go from making the will I yes decision to making the which one decision. Which guitar am I going to go buy? When we think about those two decisions, they're very different. Because when you're making the will I decision, you're using inherent value. What's the value of having a guitar? What's making my spouse happy when I serenade him or her with a love song? What's the which one decision is relative value? What's the value of this guitar versus that guitar? Does that make sense to everybody? I hope so, because this is going to be really important. This drives a lot of our pricing behaviors. So now, let's imagine that you're not in the market for a new car. Is anyone in the market for a new car right now? I'm just curious. Anybody? No? Nobody's in the market for a new car. Perfect. Now, if you were, by the way, I could just tell by the types of people in the room, if you're in the market for a new car, you were probably either going to buy a Mercedes, a Lexus, or a Porsche. I'm sure. And so imagine for a second that you get the email from Lexus that says 20% off any car in stock. Are you now in the market for a new car? Does that change your mind? Oh, that's like, yeah. Most of us, the answer is no. And the reason is price doesn't drive the will I decision. When we lower price a little bit, it doesn't make a difference here. On the other hand, let's imagine that you are in the market for a new car. Your car just broke down. You got to go buy one. You're going to buy one of these 3 cars. All of a sudden, Lexus sends you that same ad. It says 20% off any Lexus in stock. Does that get your attention? Absolutely. So when we're making the which one decision, we're using relative value, and price becomes really important in our decision process. So a typical purchase, we make a will I decision. We then say, okay, which one am I going to go buy? And then we go buy something. When we're making the will I decision, we're looking at what's the value of solving the problem. So what's the inherent value of the product? When we're making the which one decision, we're looking at different alternatives. Think of this as competitive alternatives. And we become very price sensitive. Most purchases go through both decisions. The good news is not all purchases go through both decisions. So let's start with this. You got to go to a can of green beans. You have to go to the grocery store and buy a can of green beans. You can buy Del Monte for $1.69. You can buy Safeway for $1.49. And you actually have to buy a can, right? You got it. So who's buying Del Monte? Just help me out. Who's going to buy Del Monte? I promise I won't make fun of you. I promise. We got 2. Who's buying Safeway?
I'm buying Safeway.
Okay, we got almost everybody else. Nice. For my Del Monte people, why are you buying Del Monte?
Brand affinity.
Brand affinity. Anything else might taste better?
Yeah, just branded versus generic.
Yeah, okay.
Even though it's probably Del Monte's green beans in the Safeway can.
Could be.
He's
Okay.
a brand guy, though.
He is a brand guy, right? Okay, for everybody else who bought Safeway, tell me, why did you choose Safeway? Somebody.
20 cents cheaper.
20 cents cheaper.
It's just a bean. It's a
Just a bean. It's a commodity.
solid
Yeah,
brand.
low involvement.
Solid. You trust Safeway.
I trust Safeway.
You trust Safeway. Okay. So if it was 7-Eleven green beans, you might not? Okay. So some people actually say it's the same green bean, it's the same can with a different label on it, right? I mean, I don't know. That may or may not be. It actually doesn't matter which one you chose. What matters is how you made the decision. And every single one of you made the decision the exact same way. Each one of you said 20 cents difference. Is Del Monte worth 20 cents more or not? And some of you said yes, and some of you said no. This is exactly how your customers decide between your products and your competitors' products. Let's assume your product is more expensive. They're asking the question, is it worth it? And what's fascinating is it doesn't actually matter what's true. The only thing that matters is what they believe. If you have a product that is way better than your competitors and your buyers don't know it, you don't get paid for it. Doesn't matter. We get paid for what our buyers believe. So how do we figure this out? If we're going to put a price on our product relative to a competitor's product, how much is my customer willing to pay? Well, it turns out I need to know what they're going to choose if they don't buy mine. So we have a competitor's price. What's the price of the competitor's product? What are all the things that we do better than our competitors? So we'll call that positive differentiation value. What are all those things we do better? And then what are all those things our competitor does better than we do? We'll call that negative differentiation value. And although our customers or buyers don't go through this math explicitly, they do go through this math. They're saying to themselves, oh, I could get free air. What's good about the air that you're selling? What's good about the free air that I have here? every time they're making a which one decision, they're essentially saying, what, I could buy this, or I could spend more. Is it worth it? Does that make sense to everybody? Because this is how we're going to price. If you've got a product that is a competitive product, you are selling relative to a competitor, your customer is thinking this way, you need to be thinking the way your customer is thinking. And so here are 6 steps that you could go through. Do we give them these slides?
We can.
Give your PDF?
You can email them after.
Okay, happy to give you guys this. You're welcome to take a picture of this if you want. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to do 6 steps. And when you first start out, I would recommend that you actually do these 6 steps very pedantically. And then once you get experienced at this, it'll just be automatic. You'll start thinking this way constantly. So the 6 steps, first we have to define a who. Who are we thinking about? The easiest thing to do is take a single customer, a single buyer, put yourself in that buyer's shoes and say, if they don't buy my product, what are they going to buy? What's the second best option? What's the price of that second best option? List everything that we know that is better about our product and everything we know that's better about our competitors' products. Put values on those and then do the math. Now this is hard, you're guessing, I get it, but this is really a way of thinking. Because when you start thinking this way, this is exactly how your customers are thinking. Okay, not exactly because they're not doing the math, but they really and truly are thinking, is your product worth it? Is your product worth more? And if you can't help them understand this, then we're not going to get paid more. Yes.
So on number 5, are there some techniques that you would use to value these differences?
Yeah, there are several different techniques you can use if you have resources behind you. My favorite technique is something called conjoint analysis. That's a statistical tool. Other tools that nowadays that if you're in a B2C space, you could do one for maybe 10,000. It's not cheap, but it's not as ridiculous as it used to be. The technique that I usually recommend is to guess. and I recommend it because once you start guessing, you start thinking this way. And then when you start talking to customers and buyers and you say, oh yeah, but this is so valuable. And they go, no, I really don't care. You're tweaking your guesses, right? You're learning what really matters in the marketplace. So I love it when you guess because it gets you started down this path. Quick example, back to the Del Monte. You happen to be the person putting a prop. Yes.
What did WT use?
Oh gosh, really? I put in acronyms. Willingness to pay. My apology.
It's TLA, a 3-letter acronym.
So there's only 2 that I use so much that I don't even remember that I used them. WTP is willingness to pay. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's do this example. You happen to be the person responsible for pricing Del Monte green beans. You go find this persona. His name is Mark. You ask Mark some questions. Mark, if you don't buy Del Monte, what are you going to buy? Oh, I'm going to buy the store brand. Excellent. How much is the store brand? It's $1.49. What does Mark actually care about? Well, Mark loves the brand name of Del Monte. He thinks Del Monte has better flavors. He likes supporting local organizations, but he thinks that Safeway, the store brand, probably supports local organizations better. What are the values? Great question. We're going to guess, right? 25 cents for brand name, a nickel for better flavor, supporting locals minus a nickel, because that goes in Safeway's favor. Gives us a total of 25 cents. We take 25, we add it to $1.49, and we get Mark's willingness to pay as $1.74. What that means is, if we charge a price under $1.74, Mark's going to buy Del Monte. We charge a price over $1.74, Mark is going to buy Safeway. Now, we all know that there's no way we know these numbers, right? We get it. But it's a way of thinking, and it's the way your customers are thinking. So if you were about to launch a brand new product, and you know your customers are going to say, am I going to buy your product or this other product on the marketplace? This is what you need to start thinking. What's different? And how important is it? How valuable is it to your customers? So great impactful insight here for which one decisions buyers want to know, is it worth more? And our job needs to be to communicate that to our marketplace, make sure our market knows that our product is worth more. Questions?
So where does the cost to produce come from? Is that already established before you go down this road?
Yeah, I love the question. Thank you very much. And the answer is it doesn't matter at all. Cost of manufacture, when we do value-based pricing, it doesn't matter how much it costs us to build a product. Because it cost me $10 to build this. Someone's willing to pay me for 50 for it. How much should I sell for it? If they're willing to pay me 20, how much should I sell it for? If they're willing to pay me 7, how much should I sell it for? I should get out of the business, right? I shouldn't be selling the product. So the cost of manufacturing matters to, should I be in the business? Should I take that individual deal? But it doesn't matter to us setting a price. The thing that matters to us setting a price is what's our market willing to pay? What's our customer willing to pay? All right, who's been bungee jumping? Seriously, nobody?
No, not willing to pay for that.
Okay, I'll tell my story then. I was in New Zealand, Queenstown, I think it's called Queenstown, New Zealand. Went bungee jumping. My wife and I went up. We paid $125. First time we did it was like 2 jumps for $125. It was amazing. First time, well, since I'm telling the story, I'll tell it. My wife didn't want to go. Or she came up with every excuse she could imagine. And I said, you don't have to go. And she said, well, I'll just pay for the ride to go out and we'll see what happens. Second name they called was hers, and she just walked right up. They tied her ankles together. She's walking out to the edge of the cliff. And when it's time, they took her picture. She did this. Her picture is gorgeous. She has this beautiful swan dive. It's just, oh. And then you see my picture. I'm like, ooh. But, and then the second time we did it, we were actually tied together. We jumped at the same time, which is way, way cool. You guys are getting excited, aren't you? I can tell. Okay. So here's the scoop. I paid $125. I would have paid $250. Price didn't matter. I wasn't sitting there thinking to myself, can I go here in New Zealand or should I go somewhere else? I'm thinking, I'm here, I'm going, what is it? Now there's a price point at which I would have said no, but it wasn't $125. Okay, hopefully you guys are all my best friends. You happen to be in New Zealand with me on the day that my wife and I were signing up to go bungee jumping. It is only $125. You get 2 jumps. Who's going with me? Nice, I got some people going with me. Sweet, sweet. For those of you who are going with me, would you go at 150? 200? 250? Okay. Now there's a really important point here. And the point is, there's a price point at which we can get people to say no. But it's not a tiny price change. It's a big price change. Okay, those of you who said no at 125, who's going at 100? You're going at 100 instead of 125? You wouldn't go at 125, but you'll go at 100.
I said I would go to 125. Oh, sorry.
I want the people who aren't going to go with me at 125. Who's going at 100? 75. 50.
Yeah, that's the other end of the spectrum is no, never.
I'm not in the category. I'm not.
You have to pay me.
Not me.
Okay. But it's really, really important here. Price isn't driving the decision. Something else is driving this decision. The reason this is so important is because we often have products and situations where our buyers never compare us to a competitive alternative. Can we recognize those? When we can recognize those, we have the ability to not discount, maybe charge more. I mean, here's a couple great examples. Decision is when a competitive alternative wasn't considered. Who's been to the movie theater, right? You spend your $10 to get into the movie, and then you walk up to the concession and decide, am I going to take out a mortgage for popcorn today or not? Why is that? Because you couldn't buy popcorn anywhere else. Do you know that you can get free popcorn at Ace Hardware? Free popcorn? What?
I didn't know that.
A trip to Ace Hardware. Or you can pay ridiculous amounts at the movie theater. Right? It's because there is no competitive alternative once you're inside the movie theater. How about last gas for 75 miles? You pull off, you've got an eighth of a tank, price of gas is, now I'm going to exaggerate, I guess, because it's about $10 here anyway, right? But it's $15 a gallon. You're like, yeah, I guess I'll have to buy some. Price isn't driving the decision. Something else is driving the decision. And so what are some products that we might have? What are some products that we might have where we're not compared to competition? Well, if you've got a software platform and you're selling an add-on on top of that, guess what? They can only buy it from you. If you've built a great reputation, a great brand, you've done previous business with this client, they might just come to you and not go to a competitor, not even take it out to bid. What if somebody referred you? Oh, you should go talk to Audrey. She's awesome. They may not go look at a competitor. If we know we have products or situations where people aren't looking at competitors, then they're not price sensitive. And by the way, most of us do. Most of us have products or situations where we can find where people are not using competition. Oh, if you're the only one who makes it. Monopoly products. Highly innovative products. So the question is, how do you price this? If I've got something that I don't have a competitive alternative for, what am I going to do to price it? I'm going to ask you to do something called Van Westendorp's price sensitivity meter. There's 4 questions here. You know this one? But this one's easy. I have 4 questions here. I'm not going to teach you how to analyze the answers. I'll give you a quick and dirty shortcut, but you can find this on Wikipedia pretty easily. Look this up. But the 4 questions are pretty simple. I'm going to start by describing my product, whatever it happens to be. And after I've described my product, I say, oh, and at what price do you think the product is too expensive to even consider? At what price do you think the product could be priced so low that the quality probably isn't very good? At what price does it start to feel expensive, but you still might consider it? And at what price do you consider the product to be a bargain, a great buy for the money? You can analyze, there's things on Wikipedia that teach you how to analyze this. I'm going to give you the quick and dirty method. The quick and dirty method is just look at the answer to this question. This is like a demand curve question where you're going to see different people telling you how much they pay for the product. If you ask 20 to 30 people this, you're going to start getting a really good feel for what price point, what price range you're going to be in. But here's the fabulous good news. We're talking about a will-I product. Price isn't driving the decision. So you don't have to be accurate. You just have to be in the ballpark. Okay, I'm pausing for questions. How am I doing on time, by the way?
Oh, you have 40 minutes.
We'll do that in like 3. Go ahead.
For the price sensitivity meter, is this something you're answering about your own company, or is this something you're doing a survey with your potential clients?
Yeah, so let me avoid the word survey, but let's say that we're doing it as a conversation. What's your name?
I'm Erica.
Erica? Hi, Erica. Did you know this clicker is just incredible? This is an amazing clicker. I mean, not only can I go forward, I can go backwards, I can blank the screen. Look at that. I can blank the screen. Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh, it's got a green laser on. Look at that. That's a, I guess it's not.
They fail early and often.
Okay. Pretend like my green laser was amazing. Would you? Got it. Okay. All right. Can I ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
At what price do you think this product is too expensive to even consider?
Oh, I don't know what lasers cost. $50.
$50? Okay. Got it. Oh, at what price do you think the product is so low that the quality is probably not very good?
$5.
$5? Okay, that makes sense. At what price is the product starting to get expensive, but you still might consider it?
I'd probably pay $20 if I needed one.
20, okay. And what price is the product at the bargain, a great buy for the money?
$10.
Okay, that's exactly how this works.
So you're talking to, so my potential clients is it's a small industry and they're very specific people. So am I asking this to people that have said no about purchasing the product? Because I don't want to approach anyone that we've already set a price for.
No, theoretically, this is to people who don't know you exist yet. And you're going to go in, and this is you doing market research, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Can I ask you a product?
We sell connections in travel healthcare staffing. So the healthcare providers reach out to the job providers and apply themselves to the position so that the recruiters aren't spending all their time cold calling and chasing down the healthcare providers. It's like a matchmaking site for healthcare providers that want to work with that recruiter in that position.
Yeah, so you may find a different technique that works better. And that technique, I don't have it on a slide, but I'm going to talk to you about it real quickly, if that's okay. It's called economic value. Economic value is, can you calculate the amount of money your customer will make or save because they're using your product? And as a general rule, if we're selling a will I type product, so there is no competition, then people will pay us approximately 10% of what we're going to make them or save them. It's a decent rule of thumb. Now, as they get more experience with your product, as they trust you more, you can move up from that 10%. But 10% is a really good rule of thumb.
Okay, that's helpful.
All right. Anybody remember what the most important rule in pricing was? What was that?
WTP.
WTP. So it was adopt value-based pricing, charge what our customers are willing to pay. Right, so it's a pricing methodology, it's a pricing mindset. We want to adopt value-based pricing. Okay, the second most profitable decision pricing decision any company can make is to adopt price segmentation. This means we get to charge different prices to different customers based on their willingness to pay. Liz, why'd you just smile?
Just a happy girl.
She just won an argument or something. So you may recall when we started this off, I said, we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of our buyers. And so we're trying to say, what is this person thinking? Well, my question to you is this person thinking the same thing that this person's thinking? Or the same thing that this person's thinking? Or this person's thinking? Or these people are thinking? In each one of these cases, we could just put ourselves in their minds a little bit and say, oh, no, this is how they would think. This is how they would behave. And we want to do that with our customers. Can we understand which customers get the most value from our products? And in truth, we're trying to do this. Not exactly this, but we're trying to do this. Right? How do we get the people who are willing to pay us more, and the people who aren't willing to pay us more to still pay us, to still buy from us, even at those lower prices? Turns out there are three basic techniques. We won't go into detail, but I'll talk quickly about each one of these three so you get it and know that this is very feasible. One is we can use customer characteristics. Right? Tell me something about the customer that's correlated with willingness to pay, and I might put together price lists or a way to do pricing so that I charge them different prices. I come from the semiconductor industry, and in semiconductors, we used to charge more in the US than we did in Asia. In semiconductors, we would charge more to the medical industry than we did to the consumer goods industry. Tell me something about the customer that tells me something about their willingness to pay. Let me see, can I give you some more examples? Student discounts at the movie theater. Military discounts. These are all examples of us saying, oh, just tell me something about the person. And if it's correlated with willingness to pay, I could charge them a different price. Transaction information. What can we learn at the time of the transaction that helps us understand how much our customer values our product, how much our customer is willing to pay for our product? For example, do you think umbrellas should be more expensive on rainy days or sunny days? The San Francisco Giants was the very first baseball team to do this, but they implemented dynamic pricing where they charge different prices for tickets based on different factors. But my favorite factor was the weather. They actually charged lower prices on rainy days than they did on sunny days, which makes sense. If you live in Florida and you have a Florida driver's license, you can get into Disney World cheaper than I can because I don't have a Florida driver's license. Do you have a Florida driver's license?
Yeah, I
And you
didn't know that.
that?
Thanks for telling me.
It's like California.
Southern
You almost get
California,
in.
yeah.
Don't you guys know this?
So there's lots of B2B type business. What if someone says, I need it, can you deliver it tomorrow?
Charging more for that.
Yeah, right. So willingness to pay is pretty high. Last one up here is hurdles. Can we put hurdles in the way of our buyer so that they have to jump to prove to us that they're price sensitive? This is pretty common in B2C, not as common in B2B. In B2C type businesses, coupons are the perfect example of this. If you use a coupon, what you're doing is you're trading a little bit of your life for a better price, right? You have to find the coupon, clip it, get to the right store, get the right item, get to the cashier, get the coupon out, right? You're trading life for money. Now, that's not a bad thing. All of us trade life for money. It's called a job. But you could think of a coupon as a way that it's a hurdle that some buyers are willing to jump to get a discount, and some buyers are not willing to jump. And so therefore we pay full price. In B2B, you might think of something like, could you get someone to volunteer to be a case study? Could they commit to a longer time frame? Could they take them in bigger shipments? But maybe we could put hurdles in their way to say, look, if you really want a discount, prove to me that you really want it. So far I've been talking about pricing in general. It doesn't really apply to brand new products. It really talks about pricing in general and what is value, how do our customers perceive value. But now I want to talk about pricing a new product. And here's the really good news. You won't be right. Right? It is so hard to get it right when you first put a product out. So don't panic, just get it out. Just get your price out and start to figure out what's going to make sense, because here's what's going to happen. First off, you're not going to be able to sell enough product, right? You're going to say, hey, it's not taken off the way it should. We should lower the price. Please don't. Please don't. So first thing I want you to do is learn to communicate value better. Remember the slide where I said you only get paid for what your customers believe? Odds are really good if it's a new product, you don't know how to communicate the value of your product. So you need to practice, practice, practice. I highly recommend you go out and, well, first off, if you've got a will-I product, price barely matters anyway. So why would you bother lowering prices? If you lower prices, you're not going to affect demand much. If it's competition, then we're probably not communicating our value well. Make sure we talk to our customers. I love, do you guys do win-loss analysis? Have you ever heard of win-loss analysis? I love this concept. Anytime you win a deal, anytime you lose a deal, if you sell thousands of deals a day, then don't do this for every deal. But if you only close a deal a week or a deal a month, absolutely do every single deal. Talk to your buyers and find out, why did they choose your product? How did they make the decision? Who was involved in the decision? What were the factors that mattered? What were the characteristics of the products? Right? What drove the decision? The more you can understand the way they buy, the better you're going to be able to understand, am I communicating the value of my product to my marketplace or not? So the first thing I would be doing is trying to figure out, how do I communicate value better to my marketplace? Second thing is, plan on changing your prices. I can tell you right now, you're going to change your prices. Now, maybe you got it right. Good. What if we wait a year? What if we wait 6 months? What if we wait 2 years? What ends up happening is, over time, your product becomes less risky because more people have tried it, they love it, they know that it works. Your product becomes more valuable because you've added more features, more capability to it. So over time, we can plan on bringing our prices back up. Maybe we bring different versions of our product out. We have a less expensive version, a more expensive version, and we start tweaking our product to get the portfolio pricing right. But you can plan on, right? It's going to happen. It's going to change. Just don't change it too quickly. Learn to communicate value first. Oh, and then who knows your old price? This is my favorite thing, right? So if you're going to raise prices, you've probably heard the saying, I'm going to start high because it's easier to lower a price than it is to raise a price. Probably heard that, maybe. That's only true if you're Apple or Netflix. Right? Most of us, but by the way, I raised my price last week. Did anybody notice it? You noticed I raised my price last week? Nice. The thing is, nobody knows your prices. So if you raise your prices, nobody knows. If you're a huge brand name where everybody knows who you are and they're being tracked, then yes, someone knows. But most of us, that's not the case.
I was just going to say, when Starbucks raises their prices, everybody notices.
That's because you go there every day, you
Right.
buy the same thing, you got that price memorized. Right? That's exactly right. Go ahead.
I have a handful of company having produced in 500, 1,000, and 10,000 lots. And one of the things we've been playing around with is, initially we start with 500 is less risk. And perhaps just have a very minimal markup on that. And then as we would go to the larger lots, the production lots would cost less per unit. Realize more profit that way. Is that a realistic approach, or is that kind of style stuff?
Oh, I mean, so it's certainly a fine approach. The thing that you didn't say to me is, this is how much I think my market's willing to pay.
Right.
What you said was, I'm going to take a low margin, so I'm doing cost plus at 500 pieces, because then I'll get higher margin as I sell more. What I really want you to say is, I went out and did Van Westendorp on 20 or 30 people who have this problem that we solve. Here's the price they said that they would typically pay. And that's above my cost of 500. And that's the price I want to use. But so you can use any pricing method you want, right? I'm not the pricing police that says, no, you don't get to do that. And a lot of companies use cost plus for exactly the reason that you said, and that is, I'm not sure what my market's willing to pay. I don't want to lose money, so I'm going to put it out there and see what happens. And so that's okay. But what if your market's willing to pay you twice that? I'm assuming this is unique. How are you? Yeah. What if your market's willing to pay you twice that? I mean, you don't lose money, you just didn't make the money you should have.
And then at that point, we get to, they don't know the price scenario. Yes.
Well, absolutely, you can always do that, right? I mean, if you want to start low, just to say, look, I don't have the, I live in the speaker world. I coach speakers a lot. Do you know speakers have the hardest time putting a price on themselves? They, oh my God. Oh my God. And the problem is, it's the confidence of their own offering. And that's where you are, right? I'm not confident in my products. So therefore, I'm going to price as low as I possibly can.
So Mark, playing off this thing, I was telling you about my crazy sister, the doctor, and she took this price increase. So one of the things when yours truly wrote her letter for her announcing her price increase, I told her I didn't want to put the old prices because no one knew the old price. I just wanted to put the new price, but needless to say, loving sister, she ignored all of my advice and did it anyway, and then couldn't wait to text me the moment the first client, this is for a direct primary care physician, canceled on her because she was too expensive. So am I right that you would say, don't ever publish the old prices before you put out the new prices?
I don't know that "don't ever" is the right answer.
Okay.
But let me describe what just happened. And this is a really important concept. Who knows your prices? Who doesn't know your prices? And so what Liz is talking about is a subscription service. Anytime you raise, if you have a subscription, you should make the assumption that people who buy your subscription know your prices. People who don't buy your subscription don't know your prices. Okay, so you can raise prices on new customers today and nobody knows. Has zero impact on your current business. On the other hand, if you choose to raise prices on your current customers, then what you're dealing with is, I'm going to use Netflix as an example. Assuming that you're all Netflix customers, which I know at least one of you who aren't, but assuming you're all Netflix customers, you made the decision at some point in time, yes, Netflix is worth $17.99 a month, right? And so every month you don't rethink that decision. You just pay them $17.99. You already made the decision. Then they send you the email that says, we're raising prices to $19.99. Every single one of us says, am I still watching Netflix enough? Is it really worth it? So they just caused every one of us to rethink our decision.
Same with Amazon.
Same with Amazon Prime, right? Anytime we have a subscription, if we raise prices on our current customers, then what we're doing is we're forcing them to remake the decision. Now, maybe we still offer so much value that they're going to say, yeah, got it, right? I'm going to stick with you. And maybe it's someone who's never been to the doctor. Maybe it's someone who hasn't used Netflix for a year because I'm using Hulu and HBO Max and Amazon Prime. And it's like, no, I'm not going to pay for that anymore.
And I see with Amazon, they did that price increase a couple of years ago. And I did that same analysis. I said, okay, fair value. Then they did it again this year. And I said, not so fair value.
But the thing is, you rethink it,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're going to raise prices to your current customers in the subscription world, here's the way I think about this always. Go find the customers who use the product the most because they get the most value from your product and raise the prices on them.
So basically you're back to segmenting it.
Oh, absolutely. And what I'm going to ask you this question, right? You bought a gym membership. Your gym membership is, what is it, $50 a month? I have no idea what you pay to go to a gym, as you can tell. 50 bucks a month. And you haven't been to the gym for a year. And you get the letter from the gym that says, hey, we raised prices to $60 a month. What do? Cancel it. So the idea of raising prices on customers who are not getting much value from the product seems insane to me. So typically what I coach my subscription companies to do is we're going to tier your customers based on usage. The ones with the highest usage, they're going to pay you more no matter what, right? They're not going to churn. the next tier, whatever that happens to be, you're going to start to get churn in that tier. And you're watching how much churn do I get versus how much more revenue am I going to get from the price increase. And so you can keep going down those tiers until you get to the point where, oh, my churn was equal to or greater than my additional revenue. Let's stop. And then we don't raise prices at anybody below that usage level.
So when you're segmenting, do you offer a differentiated product so that like the super users, if they talk with a medium user, can, they feel better about paying more?
Yeah, there's a few answers to that. The 3 techniques I gave you for price segmentation to use, those are for the exact same product. We can find tons of examples where we get the exact same product and we pay different prices and the world is okay with it. By the way, we rarely talk about it with people. Last time you were on an airplane, did the person sitting next to you, assuming they didn't buy tickets at the same time, do you think they paid the same price as you?
Oh, heck no.
Heck no, right? Did you discuss the price? Okay. I mean, it's something that happens all the time. We don't discuss it. We have this fear that our customers are going to talk about it. It doesn't happen very often. So we can get away with charging different prices for the exact same product. However, when you can create a product portfolio that goes to those people who are super users and dearly love us, and we give them so much value, we can charge them ridiculous amounts of money. And so I tend to think when I teach people about product portfolios and how to build them, it's almost always good, better, best inside a market segment. Right, so step 1 is figure out your market segments. Because I can create different products for different market segments, even though it's essentially the same thing. I have different market segments with different willingnesses to pay. A fantastic example of that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is essentially resume storage and search, right? You guys are all with me on that? But they have 4 different market segments they serve. They serve salespeople, job seekers, recruiters, and then professional, which is us, everybody else. And recruiters pay 10 times what anybody else pays because they get so much value from the product. So my advice is always, what are the market segments I can serve? Can I tweak my product portfolio to serve a market segment and charge them a lot? And then once I understand those segments, can we create good, better, best inside that segment with the product portfolio? Now, this is for more mature product lines. You're not going to go that far right away. Yeah.
Considering that we're going to be being a manufacturing company to supply product and all that, so we can resell it, how would we factor in the current inflation and trade inflation that's proposed? I mean, should we factor something in for where it might be next year, or just go with where it is now, or what?
Okay, so let me apologize.
I mean, if we were under normal inflation, it wouldn't be that much.
Right. I want to apologize for insulting you because I'm about to insult you.
Bless your heart.
It is not about cost. It is not about cost. You have a unique product that's a will-I product, so there is no competition. Inflation doesn't matter to my willingness to pay for your product. What you have to do is understand what's the problem that you're solving and how much is a market willing to pay for that. Right? How much is somebody willing to pay to solve that problem, whatever that happens to be. That's what matters. Okay. Now, if you're going to raise prices for whatever reason, because you think the market's there and you want to have a great excuse, inflation is an amazing excuse. Right? If you are in a competitive marketplace and inflation is making you think, hey, I need to drive my prices up, then there's a very different way to think about that. And that is, A, watch your competition. If your competition raises prices, just raise your price. Don't even think about it, just do it. Don't think you're going to try to steal their share, just raise your price. If your competition's not raising their price, then what you can do is lead the price increase, announce the fact that you're going to have a price increase, raise your price, and watch your competition. And if they don't raise their price, bring your price back down. Right? Because what you don't want to do is lose your share because your competitors are being stupid.
Sounds like the airlines.
It is exactly like the airlines, right? This is exactly how competition, this is called implicit collusion. You may not, it is illegal to call a competitor and talk about pricing. Do not do that. But there's nothing that says you can't play with pricing and watch your competitors' responses. I want to make sure that was my last slide. Any other really hard questions? I only have 3 more minutes.
What kind of pricing strategies should somebody think about following? Following a market where there's pricing inflation. The price of the product is going down because you're seeing competitors, the technology is making it less expensive to get that value. So that's a question I have from another.
Yeah. It's going to be kind of like the answer I just gave in the world of competition and how we test markets. I would absolutely not be leading price decreases, right? In fact, when people ask me, there's only one reason I would ever lower my price, and that is because my competitors lowered their price. I have no reason to lower my prices.
I have a follow-up to that, which is kind of an odd parallel. And I didn't participate in this. I just watched it going on. I was here in the housing crisis. We're not from here. And I kept seeing literature from realtors that said, drive the price all the way down. Just get down to the bottom price. If you need to sell your house, just drive it all the way down and sell your house. In other words, they were screaming at sellers to get their house sold cheap. And I took that not so much as a pricing strategy like you were describing, as remember Freakonomics?
Yep.
He was saying that realtors make about the same commission, whether they get a little bit more or a little bit less for the house. So their imperative is always going to be to get that house sold. So I took that to be the reason they were screaming at the rooftops, not what you're talking about. See what I mean?
No, I think that's absolutely right. When you think about homeowners selling a house, we price our own houses, even though we have realtors helping us, right? We price our own houses. And so it isn't a business where I get to sell something over and over and over again. This is a one-shot deal. So it's a very different behavior.
So, but what you were saying to me was it's similar to the raising of the price. It's just testing it. It's like testing it on the way down.
So the realtor's doing it, the realtor's pushing it because they want to get their commission.
No, I meant the business.
Oh, the business.
Back to the real answer.
Right. Yeah. So in the world of the business, I would be testing it. No, I would not be testing it at all. I would only be following price decreases because I'm not going to lead a price decrease. Sometimes we get into contracts with huge customers, and our huge customers want to negotiate price decreases, year-on-year price decreases. Sometimes we don't have a choice because they're our best customers. But typically when we give those price decreases, we do it because we're gaining business elsewhere. Right? So if I have got a customer, a big OEM customer who is not growing with me, I would be very reluctant to give them price decreases on my current product.
You probably cover in their third book over there, Wouldn't Keep Grow. You know, Amazon typically does like a 5% discount when you do their subscribe and save. So I'm curious if you have looked at, is there's this optimal price and how do you test those sort of pricing strategies on that sort of a model?
Is there an optimal price for what?
Sort of that subscribe and save, in other words, getting repeat business, dependable business, whereby you have a expected revenue stream.
Turns it into a subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know that there's a test, an optimal for that. I could say that when you can calculate the lifetime value of a customer, your company's valuation goes way up. And when you get companies to subscribe, customers to subscribe, then you end up with much higher lifetime value of a customer. And so I'm not sure what the right trade-off is price-wise for that. And in fact, if you guys are thinking about shifting to a subscription, The advice I would give is think about what your buyers are truly buying, because we only subscribe to something because we want a continual stream of benefits. I pay you money every month, so I get a stream of benefits every month. And think about what that continual stream of benefits looks like. The moment I stop getting those benefits, I stop paying you money. And so the more benefits you can pile into the service, the better it is, the easier it is to charge monthly subscription services.
Do companies ever test price increases to see whether, okay, here I go, whether demand is price elastic?
So let me answer the first part of your question. Companies test price increases all the time. If you're in a B2C type market, Procter & Gamble is going to test a price increase in one city and see how it flies, and then they're going to roll it out across the country. Some companies on the internet do A/B testing on price increases or price changes to see what does this price change do for us? Does it change our conversion rates? We see those a lot. I said the first part because I want to caution you on the phrase price elasticity. Price elasticity essentially says, what's the increase in demand for 1% decrease in price? And price elasticity was designed by economists for industries. And my question for you is, let's say you lowered your price 10%, you get a big boost in demand, and you say, well, that's really cool, I'm going to lower my price across the country. What's your competition going to do?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right. And so
that's the phrase. That is what they're testing. They're testing to see whether people will buy more for their price.
Absolutely. We're testing it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely right. But I'm not a huge fan of companies using price elasticity. The formula, the calculations.
Well, that's only one dimension.
Right.
It's only one thing.
Yep. Please.
I have an unrelated question. You talked about PDFs being downloadable. Can you have a downloadable video of this as well?
Well, yes, we're recording it.
Yeah.
It will be available on our YouTube channel.
Cool. Any other questions? Do I have to be done now? Can I just go till 2?
No,
Yeah.
no, you've got a few more minutes.
Do I have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Awesome. Somebody else ask a hard question.
Please come up with a hard question.
Okay, if you're not going to go with the question, I'm going to teach you something new. Is that fair?
Oh, cool.
Erica, go ahead.
Okay, I'll ask a question. Would you ever recommend giving away free product as a trial to get someone to get used to your product and then continue utilizing it?
Absolutely, yes.
But yours is a service. It's not a product.
It is a service that's charged per a connection fee. So our first client that came on, I gave him $1,500 of free connections because he was our client prior and his team hadn't utilized the product, so they never got referrals. So I didn't owe that to him, but ethically I wanted to give that to him, and they are ride or die for us right now. So I wonder if giving away, free connections would work with other agencies, or if they wouldn't have value for it, because he was already our customer. He already knew what we did. And he felt like grateful that I was giving him something that he, probably wanted back anyway, that I didn't owe to him. So I wonder if giving away free referrals to agencies who haven't heard of us, aren't experienced with us, I think he buys into my ethics, but I wonder if just giving away referrals would be tempting enough for other agencies who don't know who I am.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 answers. One answer is to the question you asked, and that is if you have a low cost to serve a customer, then having a freemium product or a free trial is very reasonable strategy to go win new customers. I'm going to give you an answer to the question you didn't ask, but you implied. One of the really unique things about subscriptions is let's pretend for a moment that you go and you buy a Porsche. And the salesperson for the Porsche was really happy. They got their commission. You drove it off the lot. Does that salesperson care if you ever drive that Porsche or if you go park it in a garage and just leave it there for the next 10 years, right? Totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. In the world of subscription, we care a lot. So you can subscribe to a Porsche. And if you subscribe to a Porsche for $2,000 a month and you take it and you park it in the garage and never drive it, odds are good you're going to stop subscribing because you don't own that Porsche. Now, the point here is that in the world of subscriptions, we had this new department that popped up recently. It was called a customer success department. And customer success is essentially saying, we need to make sure you are using my product. You are getting value from my product so that you continue to pay for my product. And so, although you didn't say it, the fact that someone had it for 2 months, 6 months, whatever it was, and didn't use it, said to me that we didn't do a good job of customer success. Right? So we need to make sure our customers are using our products if we expect them to buy from us in the future, if we expect them to pay us our subscription.
Well, where does her perceived
We are
value
not
come in?
subscription, by the way. We're,
It's okay.
Okay.
Even if it's recurring revenue, think of Uber, right? Uber is not a subscription,
right,
but they want me to use it every time I travel.
right.
Right? So they better keep me happy and find out am I using it. So where does her value come in?
Perceived value, yeah.
Oh, awesome question.
She's offering a great service.
But will they perceive it as that, or will they?
Well,
you know, not
she's
care
also
if they
sitting
don't.
between these recruiters and the people that are recruited. So it's a great service for the people who are recruited who have, I mean, they're in demand and they've been treated like crap by these recruiters. So her service makes it more seamless on both sides. It should have a high perceived value.
Okay. So this is what I want to do. This is something I was going to teach you that wasn't in the slides, but it's an amazing concept. It's called a value table. How does somebody value your product? And this is especially true in B2B markets, but we can make it work in B2C pretty well as well. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is think about your product. Think of this as having 4 columns. First column is the solution. The solution happens to be your product. It could be a feature of your product. It could be the product as a whole. This is what you probably have on your webpage. This is what you love to tell people about. The second column is the problem, the customer's problem. Can you say this in first-person format? What problem does the customer have that they need your solution to go solve? And when you can articulate that really clearly, it resonates well with your marketplace. Third column is the result. So if somebody has the problem, they buy your solution, is there a quantifiable result that they achieve? Now let's just talk about I'm going to stop for just a second. Let's talk about marketing. You are probably marketing your product. So you're marketing column 1 and nobody cares about your product. And what you should be marketing are the problems your market has and the results they could achieve. Right? Problems and results is where your marketing should be focused. Now let's talk about value. The fourth column is value. If you are in a B2B type marketplace, you can take almost any quantifiable result, use business acumen, and determine how much money that will make or save your customer. And so it may not be true for the nurse side of your equation, but it is probably true for the recruiter side, the hospital side of your equation, that you could calculate dollar values.
We do. The struggle sometimes is that our industry is very set in their ways from 25 years ago, and they just, I'm not sure, malfunction. When you bring up, like we can use tech to do this, we can do it a different way. They have a set way that's been happening for 25 years, and breaking them out of that, it's like this weird.
So that says to me, they don't see they have a problem.
they want referrals and they say they don't have enough, but they only want to do it in their way, which is paying you $750 after someone was placed and after they completed 13 weeks of work. And they'll say like, oh, we don't have enough travelers, we're drowning all this stuff, but they can't hear it another way. They'll only do that. So, I mean, I just figure those are the agencies that say you can make free recruiter accounts and you can, list 5 jobs and have a free profile on our system and we're happy to have you, but they don't have 8,000 jobs streaming to their profiles. So that's my best attempt at showing them that there's a better way.
I'm in the consulting industry. Well, I think of this consulting because it's like, for example, and I don't know this about your business, but I can think of things like if you do a better job at matching a candidate to a job, and you like each other better and there's less turnover in that job, to Mark's point, that's quantifiable.
We're over 5 times better than our competition. And we, mention that, but ultimately, they'll pass it off to the recruiters to make the decision. Recruiters like, no, we only take referrals and we only pay after they've completed an assignment. And that's just not functional because they're not going to tell us that that happened, right? So that's my best stab at it. But yeah, maybe I'm sure, I've done my best job. I'm sure over time I'll be able to do a better job at explaining our value or getting them to look at it.
Yeah, the key issue is figuring out who has the problem, because the people who are saying they're going to pay $750 don't have the problem. Somebody else has the problem.
Okay.
I'm wondering if Fusion of Innovations is a factor here, it seems like, because you can have the problem, you can see the solution, the value. If your culture is a laggard culture versus a early adopter culture, that seems like a whole nother layer to what's going on here.
Yeah,
And that's
her story or?
Yeah, that's what, that seems like you may have the right solution. The question is, what are the most likely institutions? Who are the institutions that adopt new ideas more readily?
And that goes back to the concept that we talked about earlier of market segmentation or price segmentation.
That was helpful.
One of the things, I don't know how many clients or how many customers you have today. One of the things I often do with my clients is I say, look, let's list a dozen customers. And across the top, I want you to tell me, scale of 1 to 5, their willingness to pay, right? Tell me the ones that you think would pay us the most, the ones that you think are most price sensitive. And now tell me why, right? What's different about the 1s and the 5s? And you start digging in deeper and deeper, and that starts to point out, well, we want to go after more 5s, right? What's different about the 5s? That's where I want to go.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Well, you're very welcome.
Time is up.
Oh, darn it.
Thanks so much. Everybody, you can join us next month. We're going to have Kevin Lyons.